Hello, everyone. This is Kerwin, and welcome to another episode of Travel Talk. And today we're going to talk about, guess what? Airport codes. So let's go. So I love talking about airport codes because I'm quite the geek when it comes to that. And you use them all the time when you fly, but you don't know or you don't care. So, and why should you, right? The airport behind me is Berlin, and Berlin has a quite the history. This particular airport is the Berlin Brandenburg Airport, which is the new airport. Now, Berlin, over time, it's had a lot of airports, and only because it was once divided and now it's no longer divided, but the airport still remained. So there used to be Berlin Tegel, which is TXL, and that's the last airport that was well, I guess the last commercial airport in Berlin before this one, BER, which is Berlin Brandenburg. Now let's back up a little bit. So TXL is Tegel, THF is Tempelhof, and because there was Tegel, Tempelhof, and Schonefeld, which is SXF. And what they did was they first closed Tempelhof, and say if you go to Berlin now, Tempelhof is now a park. And you can go have a picnic in the park. You can walk down the runway, the taxiways. It's very cool. You can't get to the terminal itself because it is actually, if you want, you can do tours. You used to be able to do tours of the terminal. I don't know if you still can, but a tour company called Get Your Guide used to run those tours in Berlin. Really amazing tour because they have there's still like a basketball court at the top of Tempelhof because the Americans used to control that airport. And downstairs is like a dungeon and things like that. It's very spooky. So I don't know what they're going to do with Tegel, which is TXL. That's the one closest to Berlin itself. But BER is outside of Berlin. And so that is SXF, which is Schonefeld, is where there is the runway that they've used to build BER on. And it looks like they used to use SXF up until maybe a few months ago, I think. But it doesn't look like they have any because I went by to check it out and it's closed. So it looks like you can't it doesn't accept passengers there. I think they used to call it Terminal 5 or something like that, but it doesn't look like they accept any more passengers anymore. I think matter of fact, they might just be using it for general aviation, which is charter flights and things like that. But so that takes care of Berlin, which is one of the bigger ones. Now, Berlin BER is it's called a city code. So every big area has a city code. I say big area for want of a better word. So, for example, Berlin was BER because it had three airports: SXF, THF, and TXL. Los Angeles uses LAX, but LAX is also the code for Los Angeles International. Within Los Angeles, there is ONT, which is Ontario. There's SNA, which is the John Wayne Airport. It's actually Santa Ana. There's LGB, which is Long Beach. And there is Burbank, which is BUR. And a little further down is Palm Springs. But Palm Springs is not really a part of the LAX basin. And there's one with San Bernardino, which is SBD. And so LAX is a code that represents all the it's the city code. Although if you put LAX in, you normally get just ONT and SNA as other airports. If we go to London, London is LON, and LON encompasses London Gatwick, which is LGW, London Heathrow, which is LHR, London City, which is LCY, London Luton, which is LTN, sorry, and I'm missing one, Sen, which is Southend, and that's SEN. So we've got SEN, which is Southend, London Luton. The other one is London Stansted, which is the one I'm missing, STN. So there are actually 6 airports in the London metropolitan area. Now in New York, there's NYC, and NYC is New York City. So that's a code for the New York City metro area. And that includes John F. Kennedy, which is JFK, named after the president. LGA, which is LaGuardia, named after the mayor of New York. I think it was Fiorilla H. LaGuardia at the time. And there's Islip, which is a town out on Long Island. So that's ISP. And so wherever possible, they would use either the 3 letters for the first 2 letters in the city name, or they would use the first 2 letters in the name of the airport itself. Because some airports are named after the city, others are named after people, official people, like Kennedy is JFK, John F. Kennedy. And LaGuardia, LGA, is Fiorilla H. LaGuardia. And so you have Islip, then you have White Plains, which is HPN. And that one, I should look that one up and see why is it HPN, because sometimes what they do, they name it, because of course it doesn't make any sense, right? But then it probably does. White Plains, H is in white, P is in plains, PN. So that's probably where they got it from, because I think they couldn't use WHI, because WHI was probably another one. So why is White Plains HPN? Can I tell you why it's HPN? It's probably because okay, so here's what they say. Some believe it's derived from the name of the city, White Plains, which makes sense, right? HPN, which is out of there. So and Stewart, SWF is the other one. And Stewart is the one that's little SWF, which is a little upstate New York, not too far away, but that's the other airport that's there. That airport is served by Atlantic Airways. They fly flights from, excuse me, they do flights from their base in Faroe Islands, and those are not regular. Well, they are regular scheduled. As a matter of fact, I think they're gonna stop in October or November. And if they were successful, they were gonna continue them year round. But I haven't heard or seen anything. It's probably too early to tell. So and North EWR, so that takes care of the New York area. Philadelphia is PHL. Makes sense. Philadelphia PHL. There's also Pittsburgh with PIT. And so some of them actually spell words, like Pittsburgh spells a word, PIT. Now, let me just interject here for a sec. These are the IATA, International Air Transport Association. Those are the ones that came up with these codes. There's also another organization called ICAO, International Civil Aviation Organization. They're based in Montreal. And their codes are 4 letters, which is basically just the K in front of the code. So there'll be KLAX, KJFK. When you talk to most pilots, they will use the ICAO code. It's just kind of how it is, a naming convention that they use. So just to look at some other codes, and I did write them down. There is, Y. In Canada, almost all the codes in Canada starts with a Y. And it has something to do with weather stations. Way back when, they had used a Y to indicate that particular station is a weather station, and a W if it was not a weather station. And so when they started to name the airports, they kept that naming convention. So you'll have the YUL, which is Montreal. You have the YYZ, which is Toronto. You have YVR, which is Vancouver. And you have YOW, which is Ottawa. And so that's how the Canadian airports came up with their codes. Most of them are actually Ys. And I'm just going through my little list. Okay, so FAT, that is Fresno Air Terminal, and that's out in Fresno, California. And that spells fat. Now, there's also Fukuoka, which is really difficult to spell, but that's in Japan. And the code for that is FUK. Then there is, we talk about London City, we talk about Heathrow. And then there's Kingston, KIN for Kingston, Jamaica. And there's also Montego Bay. Montego Bay is MBJ. And it's because it's Montego Bay, Jamaica. Now, the name of the airport is actually Donald Sachs International Airport, which is named after one of the prime ministers. And the other one is Norman Mann International Airport, which is one in Kingston. And that's but they're not changing the name. It's still KIN, and now it's just named after the ex prime minister who's since passed away. In Antigua, there's ANU, which makes sense. Port of Spain is POS. CDG is Paris Charles de Gaulle because it's named of Charles de Gaulle, who I think was one of the presidents of France. There's also Orly. Orly is ORY. There's DXB, which is Dubai. There's also DUB, which is Dublin. So Dubai couldn't be DUB because Dublin had already existed. So they couldn't do that. One that you fly into all the time, but you don't think about it, is Rome. Rome is FCO, which is Fiumicino. Fiumicino, I think is how you spell Fiumicino. Now, Rome, the code for Rome is ROM. So that will give you there's another airport in Rome. It's called Ciampino. Ciampino is the airport that typically Ryanair flies into that one. But if you want to see all the flights that flies into Rome, you do ROM, and that will give you all those. Same thing with Paris. Paris is PAR, and that will give you the Orly, Charles de Gaulle, and the other airport, Beauvais, BBA is that one. And so we go Berlin. We talked about Berlin, talked about BAR. Now Dallas is another one that has a city code. So Dallas, the city code is actually DAL, but DAL is actually the airport code for Dallas Love Field. The airport code for Dallas Fort Worth, which is the other airport in Dallas, is DFW. We talked about London, New York City. We talked about Pittsburgh. Now, another word that spells something is EAT, EAT, which I actually think is in Wenatchee. I think it is. I think it was. Let me just make sure. I tell you the wrong thing, but I think it's actually Wenatchee. Bear with me one sec. Just making sure I got it right. EAT is actually, it is Pangbourne Memorial Airport, which is in Wenatchee. And where is Wenatchee? It's in Washington, Washington State. So that's where EAT is. So you can go EAT and FAT. Now there's Chicago, which is ORD. The airport, the code for that one is CHI, the city code. And Chicago actually has ORD, which is Orchard Field. And it also has MDW, which is Midway. So there's Chicago Midway and Chicago Orchard Field, which is O'Hare. Then there is New Orleans. No, New Orleans is MSY. And it's MSY because it is named after, well, now it's called the Louis Armstrong Airport, but it had another name before, which is why it is MSY. It actually stands for Moisant Stockyards. And that's what it was initially. So a lot of these airports there is a reasoning why they have the name that they do. But it was really the line where U.S. aviator John Bevins Moisant crashed with the airport, and the airport was later built on that spot. So that gives you a little insight into how the airports got their name. Of course, the list is exhaustive, right? You could just go on forever. But there is two that I always like to add. Of course, there is SUX, which is Sioux City, Iowa. And they actually wanted to officially change that name from SUX because, of course, and I don't think they were successful. So it's still SUX. But always remember this. Frankfurt is FRA, and Nice is NCE, and Nice is in France. And so if you've gone from FRA to NCE, you've gone to France. I hope you enjoyed this little walk through airport codes. And if you have your favorite airport codes, just leave me a note below and let me know. This is Kerwin with Travel Talk. Talk to you soon and have a great time in the airports.